All right, it is finally time to swap out this little fan I got from Summit to something that can actually move some air. This is a dual fan setup from a Chevy Malibu. I believe the year is 2004. I think that's the same part number, the inline 4 V6 Chevy Malibu. But it's dual fans, and it does have a shroud, so it should fit pretty close to the Champion 3-row. And pull a little bit more air across the radiator because I have been running hot. I only put this little Summit fan on here. I think it's like 2500 CFM. The only reason I put it on here was just to really play around with the tune and stuff in the driveway. I ended up driving with it, making some decent trips back and forth. But like I said, it does ride just a little bit warm, even if you're moving. So I do want to swap out these fans. I already got the bumper off, so all I need to do is take off the intercooler piping, see how much I need to trim off this shroud, and then figure out some way to mount it and wire it up, and it should be good to go. So the only thing I had holding this Summit fan on was this little zip tie right here and a little bolt right there, so it was a little floppy. So the new dual fans are pretty wide. I measured from the outside mounting fin on this side to this side over here, and it was about, I think it was 67.5 centimeters or something. And so when I measured the shroud of this dual E fan, it's about the same from the inside of the shroud here to the inside of the shroud here. So I think what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and cut off this little lip, and then we'll just end up drilling some holes and bolting it through the shroud to the existing little threads in the radiator there. All right, definitely a tight squeeze to get this in here. I ended up taking off the radiator hose and the intercooler piping. I did go in through this area right here. I was gonna try and go in through the back, but there wasn't enough room. I ended up sliding it in like that with that smaller fan in first at an angle, jamming it all the way in, that back corner back there, and then I just kind of forced this top corner down. It did take some forcing, it just barely fit, but it is in there. You can see there's just about an inch gap on the top, but I think that'll be okay because we have a shroud that covers almost the entire radiator, whereas before we did not. So all I need to do is find out where I need to drill a couple holes and get some longer bolts. I believe these are M6 by 1 for the threads on the mounting point on the radiator. So I'll probably just get maybe 2 or 3 screws and mount that in there, and then we'll wire it up. So just to verify that I have the correct positive and negative hooked up, I just took the 2 leads off the connector that I also got brand new so it would fit into the connector on the fan. I've got my power probe hooked up, negative to one side, and I'll connect the positive to the other side, or at least just make contact here. And then we'll give it 12 volts. And the fan is blowing out towards the back, which is what we want. So I just went ahead, I already did it, but I marked that this is the negative lead. I did the same thing on the other fan. This is the negative leads. So I probably need a beefier connector here. This is a little bit smaller gauge, but it was what I was using before. I'll go ahead and run with this.
So we should be able to just reconnect it to our existing connector here. And then I'll do the same thing for this blue wire.
So I don't think I got a good picture or video of how much I trimmed off the shroud here, but if you can see, I left this piece that goes straight down and just trimmed the tab off of there, and I did that on both sides. Not hard to see. But we did get it in by twisting it in and kind of cramming it in there. Did get it all wired up. I ran those small fan wires back up and just under this harness down here, crimped to the connector crimped. One goes to a ground point on this coolant pipe. The positive goes to the blue wire coming off of the relay, and then the existing orange wire goes to the big fan. I just wired it up the same way I had the old fan in there, and then just coiled this up for now and zip tied it just for testing, and then we'll find a final mounting point for this relay. So I got a little right angle drill here. I'm gonna try and get in and drill some holes, hopefully close to where they need to be. One needs to be right about here. Right down here. Let's see if these line up anywhere. It does actually. Not bad. All right, just got a little washer, and I am gonna put some Loctite on here. Just to hopefully hold it from backing out.
Now let's see if I can get this back through the threads. All right, pretty snug. I just want this kind of snug. I don't want to crack the plastic shroud or anything, so we'll just leave it there. See if we can get some of these others done. Oh, new washer, a little bit of Loctite. I'm real close. It's just right on this ridge right here is where the time starter or whatever it is for the threads. Can't see it on there. Barely see it. I need to drill it out just a little bit further down, so we'll try and make the hole a little bigger. Might have got enough there. It's still going in at an angle. But in there good, nice and secure. Let's see if we can get one more on this side.
All right, so I gave up trying to put this last third screw up in the top thread, so I'm just gonna put it down there in that bottom time cert thread thing. I found this, I think it's actually like for a light fixture, but I'm gonna use this as just a bracket to hold down the bottom of the radiator shroud because it doesn't extend over those threads.
So I'm just gonna leave it like that, because we'll hold down to the bottom of the radiator there. And we'll snug it down. So hopefully that'll work.
So while I'm in here, I am gonna go ahead and replace the thermostat. I did wanna see if I could just run it with the fan replacement first and see how much cooler it got. But it's just gonna be easier to replace the thermostat all in one go. So we'll take the thermostat housing apart and swap this new one in. I believe it should be a low temp thermostat, but I just checked the book, and the book said that it should open at 170, and I believe this is a 170 degree Fahrenheit thermostat.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with it, but it's probably just the fans, so we'll go ahead and replace it.
So this is the old thermostat that I pulled out. Nothing really looks wrong with it, but I'm gonna go ahead and replace it with this new one. I don't know if this old one was 170 degree as well, but I'm pretty sure this one's a 170 degree. It's supposed to be a lower temp, but we'll go ahead and throw it in. I did put a light coating of RTV on both sides of the housing and the part over there. There is an upper, so this goes to the top. So we'll just start with this first bolt. Probably need to put the thermostat in too. So the thermostat just goes in with this little bleed valve on the top.
So I'll see if I can hold everything in and put it in. It goes in. torque on these is 16 to 21, so torque wrench is already set to 18, so we'll just do it here. Mess up all the belts here, probably already did. One on here like this. Yeah, there it goes. Over here.
Now we just have to be aware here that this is the naturally aspirated front coolant pipe right here. So it does not bolt in the stock turbo location. So I ended up just cutting off that bracket, and that bolt I just stuck in there sort of as a protector for the belt here. So we just need to make sure that when we tighten this, that it's not in the way of any belts.
I think we look good. Not in the way of any belts. Should be good.
Now all I have to do is put all the intercooler piping back, this last coolant hose, the charcoal canister, and fill it with coolant and give it a test. All right, good news and bad news. Good news is I got the new dual E fans in. Bad news is I couldn't run the air filter and air intake piping the same way I had it, which was right up against the radiator, because now there's this 4-inch shroud for this new little fan. So just using what I had, I ended up just twisting it to this other side in front of this other fan. So I'm probably gonna run into some issues here with all the turbulence from the fan blowing into the air filter. Also got a little clearance issue down there by the crank. It's real close. Just need to get the car running. I am scheduled for a dyno tune in like a week and a half from today, whenever today is. So I'm just trying to get the car back together and in somewhat decent running condition so I can hopefully make it through dyno day. All right, I am gonna try and do a vacuum fill on the coolant.
We're just going to open this, let the compressed air create a Venturi system, and pull a vacuum on the cooling system. Then we'll close off the shop air, close off this connecting valve, and open up the intake, which goes into the bucket of coolant that I saved. So let's see if we can make something happen here. So I'm going to leave this just for a minute or two and make sure it doesn't leak down or lose a whole lot of vacuum. And then we'll open up this valve and let the coolant in. And then let the coolant in.
All right, I did do that same vacuum bleed process a couple more times. I think it was just too low on coolant to pull a complete vacuum on the entire system. So I did top it off a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can start the car, let it warm up, and see if the fans kick on, and then see if I can get some coolant flow as well. All right, almost up to temperature. We'll see if it kicks the fans on. There they both go. So both fans are on and blowing the proper way. And we're gonna come take a look real quick in here. It doesn't appear, we can see the MAF voltage right there in this tune, and it doesn't look like we're fluctuating that much. Before the fans kicked on, it was right around 0.61, 0.62, and it fluctuated right around there. So I don't think we're having too bad of an issue with the fans blowing into the air filter there. All right, real quick, it has been idling for a while here. The highest temperature it got to was 87 with the new thermostat and new dual E fans. Interestingly enough, if you give it a little gas and rev it up a little bit, the temperature does come down a degree or two. It might just be the water pump pushing more water through the radiator. Also, there might be a couple little air bubbles in the cooling system. I might not have fully bled it, so I'll let it cool down and top it off too. So you can see just by revving it up a little bit, it did come down a couple degrees, so I'm hoping that's a good thing. All the coolant going through the radiator and it's actually getting cooled. So